Alright guys, welcome back to another one. This one is really cool. I'm really excited about it, and it's going to be very useful for many people and many projects. So, the star of the show is going to be this stuff. It's Evapo-Rust. I came across it on one of Adam Savage's videos. He does like those tool reviews and stuff like that. He seems to love this stuff, and from what I can tell, it's like a miracle product. So it says right on here, safe on all surfaces, will not harm copper, brass, aluminum, plastic, rubber, or vinyl. Non-toxic, biodegradable, and contains no acids or alkalis. Non-flammable and contains no petroleum solvents. So it's basically just water, as far as I can tell. But it seems to work really well from what Adam was saying. So this stuff is super cheap. I got a gallon of it on Amazon. It was like under 20 bucks, I think, or maybe 25. So really not bad for something like this, and it is reusable. It is reusable, so you can just put this right back in the jug and use it the next time. So I just went to the dollar store, spent $4 on a bowl, some tongs, and some reusable gloves. I don't really think I'll need these, and this stuff is safe on your skin and stuff like that, so you don't really need this stuff, but just to be clean, even though I'm covered in grease anyway. So I'm in the middle of working on basically restoring my steering shaft, and there's some neglected brackets in there that I have in front of me. This being the main one. This bracket's not in too bad of shape. I'll do some close-up B-rolls of this stuff so you can get a good before and after. And then we got these two guys that hold the bearing in place. And then I have this really cool, well, I'm going to call it a dog tag, and it's all the factory codes for what this Jeep was built with. It's all rusty. I don't think this is going to need a full soak as long as this stuff will. So I'm going to do this another time. I'll probably include it in this video, but this can be pretty cool. So basically you just need to submerge this stuff and you let it sit. It says 1 to 12 hours. I cleaned this stuff up. I just kind of hit all the loose dirt. They're not oily. And I don't know, we're going to see what happens. I'm going to get those B-roll shots before I do all this. Above the city, you could watch it all dissolve. Watch it all dissolve. Watch it all dissolve. Alright, so I'm going to crack this open. Just a basic foil. Doesn't smell like anything really. Make sure there's no crap in there. It's literally water. Alright, and you do have to submerge the product. Obviously these little guys are going to be a big deal. This guy though, I don't know the best way to put this down there. It doesn't really fit in my bowl is the problem. Okay, completely covered. Just under a gallon. So it is 6:23, which is perfect. I will be back here in 12 hours and hopefully these things are still brackets and they're not just dissolved. This stuff just seems so cool for like a variety of things. There's always like a small little bracket or something that you just want to make less rusty. It's just a little more cost effective maybe than buying a new bracket altogether. Also, it's really cool to say that you're using all the original parts and things like that. So this bracket in particular goes right here from the steering shaft. But there's like little brackets like that hold the master cylinder. Something like that would be really cool. There's all sorts of like grill supports and there's all sorts of stuff like that you could put in there. If you do want to do like sheet metal or something, it's got instructions on how to do that. So hopefully this stuff is really cool because I think a lot of people doing this type of work, or if you have an old Jeep that's rusty, if you want to, instead of painting over the rust, maybe this will work on frames or something. Maybe we'll get into that type of stuff. So I'm gonna let this stuff sit I'm gonna set my alarm for early tomorrow morning. I'll be back here in 12 hours, and we'll see how it did. All right, so it's been about 24 hours now. I pulled these things out at about probably 15 to 16 hours of sitting in this. And you can definitely see that it started to work. That's some clean metal right there. A lot of this rust bubbling is under paint, so this stuff isn't gonna go through the paint. You can see that looks pretty good right there inside. I mean, this thing was just orange. So I'm gonna hit this stuff with the die grinder and a little piece of sandpaper. Really, the best thing would be to sandblast this stuff, but it really does clean up the metal pretty good. So I have this like dog tag looking thing soaking. See how this thing looks. If I can get it out. Yeah, it started. Look at that. It started to, yeah, that's pretty cool. Definitely started to eat away at that. So I'm gonna let this thing sit in there a little bit longer. So the last video I was mocking up my links. I used some PVC and I noticed that I couldn't get things to land very straight and square. For now, in the even previous video to that, you saw me working on the steering shaft, and since then I actually took it apart and painted everything. I took the support bearing completely apart, put some fresh grease in there. I used synthetic grease, the Super Lube, so this should last a lot longer. And then I also cleaned up the actual steering shaft itself. I nicked this with the grinder a couple times when I was in there, so looks much better now. I'm gonna protect this from rust. I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on these ends here and get the steering back together. So on the bottom of the bowl, it's hard to see. There is a lot of stuff down there. So I mean, I bet you if you left some of these things that are really rusted in there for a week, you'd probably get a pretty good result actually. I just tried, like I said, 15 hours. So maybe I'll find something else and I'm just gonna leave it in here and we'll see what happens. Here's that stuff. You can see like the bottom of this is nice and murky. There's definitely some chunks of rust in there. So not a useless product, just maybe not quite the correct use. So all in all, this stuff didn't work as well as I would have wanted it to. It definitely eats away at the light corrosion. So for stuff like this to get you going before you take your sand wheel to it, or just like, I don't even know where I'm going with this. It really didn't work as well as I would have hoped. But you know what? Also, it says to use it at 65 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer. It is a little bit chilly in here, so maybe that had something to do with it, but it kind of works. It's not as potent as I would have hoped, but I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna keep this stuff around. It is reusable and it's biodegradable and all that stuff, so I'm gonna pour it back in here. Maybe we'll find a future project. Maybe if I find some brackets or something one day that are lightly surface rusted, I think this would work a little bit better than the deep rot. That's the difference between rust and rot. Rust is generally just on the surface and rot gets down in and starts flaking your metal. This stuff is better for surface rust. I'm sure I have a couple things around here that would be perfect to give that a shot. So, there you have it. It is what it is. I'm gonna get this steering shaft back together and I'll catch you guys in the next one.